Well, I'm Randall Baxter. I'm the president of Asset Positioning Services. I'm the author of a book called Approach, Plan, Succeed. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. And I'm also the author of what we're about to talk about, Family Tree Asset Positioning, which I call the go-to first interview. And I hope what you're going to learn today is why you want to learn this interview and why you want it to be the go-to first interview. So this is important, and I hope you find it as valuable as I think you are. But if you're considering becoming a licensee, or you want to become a recruiting master licensee, or if you just need to renew your training and recharge your battery, I'm going to go over the things I want you to consider. And I want y'all to know that if you're already a licensee and you want the training program to start over again, that's okay with me. There's no fee, no charge for existing licensees. So just make yourself aware of that. But several of you all are talking about being recruiting master licensees, and we're going to cover that a little bit today. So just to give you an idea, as long as I've been doing this, I used to think, I want to be a coach. I want to be a coach. I can help people if I coach them. But what I learned was that some people aren't ready to be coached. Some people need to be trained first, then coached. My definition of coaching is to help you make sales on the front end, help you see and understand the value of setting up the back end sale. But sometimes I need to be sure that you know all the basics and all the fundamentals, just like Vince Lombardi once said when he got in front of the Green Bay Packers for the first time. He called the team in, and he got up on the podium and looked at all these professional football players, and he reached under the podium and raised up a football, and he said, "Gentlemen, this is a football." And he started from there. And that's what I like to do in this training is I want to get your vocabulary built. I want you to understand why I teach things the way I teach them and how to implement the things that you learn. So I think it's important that if you want to add estate planning to your product and service portfolio, that you learn the basics first. So I'm going to be talking about a 30-lesson email course today that I've added a couple of extra things to. But I want you to understand that the order that I put things in are the exact order, in my opinion, what you need to learn investing 10 minutes a day, so that 30 days later, you'll be ready to go and ready to crank up an income. I don't mind telling you today, doing what I do, I went in for the back end sale on an enforced trust that I had already worked on, and wrote two $250,000 index annuity contracts with income riders and well-being riders on them, and about $600,000 in MYGAs. And it was actually the third interview because we had to set the stage. So we're going to go over that on how to set the stage and everything like that. But it was worth the 3 hours of my time. So anyway, what I'm going to be talking about here is a training program that gives you 30 lessons in 30 days. Each email lesson will require about 10 minutes per day on most days. When you get down to lesson 20 and 21 and 22, you're probably spending 15, 20, 30 minutes, depending on how fast you learn or how much time you want to invest. But I will tell you that if you will do these lessons and learn what I'm asking you to learn, because, see, I can only teach you what I know, and I can only teach you what I do. Everything else I'm not very good at. I'm pretty good at this. So if you do the lessons and learn the things in the order that I'm about to teach you, I will promise you nice incomes. So here's what happens. My successful licensees implement. Licensees with FUD, which is fear and uncertainty and doubt, fail to implement. Today, we get rid of the FUD. Today, we learn why this training is so important. And what I have learned is that since FUD is fear and uncertainty and doubt, it's usually because somebody either skipped a lesson, missed a lesson, or didn't follow a lesson. And usually it doesn't take me long to talk to somebody to find out at what step they skipped. And we were talking to somebody here, I think it was Sam. Sam, I used the agenda this morning, and my prospects followed it, and they understood it, and they kept referring back to it, especially when they said, okay, now explain the gap again, explain the cliff again. And when we did it again, they were against the index annuities for about 30 minutes, and they were going to put all their money in MYGAs until I said, okay, now let's look back and see why I recommended these income annuities. And when I recommended them again, they looked at it and they said, that makes sense. It didn't make sense the first time, but 30 minutes later, it did. So the first thing you get in our lesson program is a welcome letter. And you get a link to download the first ebook I wrote that's called Approach, Plan, Succeed. I wrote it to show financial service professionals that there are people in this industry that will teach you what they do that's good and successful. Not everybody will do that. But I also show you the marketing techniques that I use. And I also explain to you in that book the 4 stages that an estate planning company goes through, which includes where most of you all are. And I'm not far from it, because I like stage 1, which is an individual independent producer doing most of the work themselves. But if you want to grow this business, you can take it into a full-fledged agency that masters in estate planning. You just have, but you can't go from step 1 to step 4. You got to go from step 1 to step 2 to step 3 to step 4. If not, you end up working as hard as I am, and I'm trying to teach you how not to work as hard as I work. So anyway, in lesson 2, I'll go in and explain to you what is Family Estate Docs, and that's the software that we use. For those who want to, if you live near Knoxville on February 28th, the originator of that software, Mr. Frank Divers, is going to be here in Knoxville, and we're going to be doing a boot camp, an 8-hour boot camp going into the software. And I'll be honest with you, Family Estate Docs is the easiest, most affordable, most understandable estate planning software that you or any of your clients could ever dream of running into. It's that easy. So also in these lessons, I'm going to show you why you want to use Family Estate Docs. And I've already told you it's easy to learn, easy to use. And then on the 4th day, from the time you buy the training, not the license, because the training does not include the license. The training just teaches you what you need to know so you can decide if you want to be a licensee. But in lesson 4, I talk about how to make a sale using the Family Estate Docs software. And when you have your own website, you have an advantage over your competition. Big advantage. And all my licensees get their own website, as well as access to me when you need it. So then we go into training program, lesson 5, why you want to be a process sales expert instead of a product sales agent. You might want to let that soak in a little bit. That's most of us are product salespeople. I sold products today using the process that leads me, the go-to first interview sales process that leads to a discussion of any and all products that the clients may need. And I use a sales presentation that allows me to make a proper diagnosis of the problems that they have that they will tell me about because I'm really good at asking the questions, and I'm going to teach you the questions to ask. But once I make a diagnosis, it's really, really easy for me to write the prescription to solve the problem. And that couple I met with today, they had a problem. They're healthy 83 and 76-year-old couple who didn't want to be in the market anymore. And to be honest with you, didn't believe in annuity products. Told me why. You know what I told them? I told them same thing I'd always tell them, something I teach you to say. But if somebody says they don't like annuities, I say, I don't either unless they work. And that got them quiet. They decided to listen. And annuities don't work for everything, but when they work, nothing can beat them. And you get to that conversation through the estate plan by following the sales presentation that I'm going to be teaching you, the go-to first interview. And you know what? Everybody has an estate plan. Most of you already know that. It's either a will or a trust or the government plan. And 5 out of 10 people that you talk to got the government plan. Everyone you know will benefit from a conversation with you about estate planning if you ask, and if you tell them that most people learn something they were not aware of in their estate plan when they had that conversation with you. You will find that 5 people don't have a will or a trust, which means 5 out of 10 have the government plan. They're not the ideal prospects unless they're negligent, or you go to Hollywood and all these wealthy actors died without a will or a trust. But if five of those 10 are either going to have a will or a trust, and 4 of those 5 are not going to be happy with it or not going to understand it. So, you know, a lot of times people call me and say, Randy, I've talked to them, they already had a trust. And I'll go, well, great. That's the best thing I ever heard of, because it's probably not funded correctly. And what I do when someone already has a trust is I say this: let's find out if it's properly funded. In most of my interviews with people who already have a trust, those people learn something they were not aware of in their plan. Wouldn't that be a good thing to know if you weren't aware of it? So, something else I'm going to teach you in the process is how to make the proper delivery of an estate plan that you might sell. Because, oh, look there, I misspelled estate over in the corner. Learn where I get my estate plan. That's my fault, because I know how to spell estate. But anyway, it's in the delivery of the estate plan that sets you up for the back end sale. Now think about that. It's the delivery of the estate plan you sold these people that sets the stage for the back end sale. On a front end sale, which is the sale of the estate plan, you might make $1,000. On the back end sale, I make an average of $5,000 to $20,000 per sale. I think today, once I get all the money moved this morning, I'm going to guess and say it was probably $35,000, maybe $40,000. So if you're taking these lessons from me, oh yeah, I don't give it away. I don't have time to give it away. All 30 lessons only cost you $99.95 one time. And that doesn't mean you have to become a licensee. That just means you took the lessons to find out if you wanted to be one. But in lesson 7, I'll review the software platform with you so that you'll get comfortable with it and won't be afraid to use it. And then on the first day of the second week, I'll tell you a story about why your family estate docs training and coaching is the best route to follow. Because if you're an existing agent and you have a clientele, every one of them that know you, like you, trust you will want to have this interview. So if you've got 100 clients, you've probably got enough appointments to last you a whole year. And each time you do the interview the way I teach you to do it, you'll pick up new suspects and new referrals. That was a lesson last week when we talked about referrals. So let me just say something to you here, or ask you a question. Of course, you're not supposed to ask a question with an exclamation point. You're supposed to put a question mark in there. How the digital age changed estate planning. Because it used to be you had to get in your car and drive downtown to the bank building and pay to park and go upstairs on the 4th floor or 5th floor of the bank building and talk to the attorney who was going to charge you whether you bought an estate plan or not. But that has all changed. Because of the digital age, you can now purchase a license to use attorney-drafted estate plans and to sell them. That didn't exist a decade ago. So once you become aware of how valuable the software is and how valuable the lessons, because family estate docs will teach you what you need to know about estate plans. But folks, my name's Randall Baxter, and I'll teach you how to sell them. And those are two separate things. But you got to learn how to sell them if you want to make a lot of money on the back end. Some of you think you just want to sell the estate plan and then get your client to go in there and enter all the information and you're done. It can be done that way, but it's sure not the most profitable way to do it. The most profitable way to do it is to grab them by the hand and pull them through and help them and make sure that you have a proper funding interview. So I'm going to teach you what probate is, and you probably already know. I'm just going to teach you it's a pain in the rear end, and you don't have to do it, especially if you have children that live in other states, if you have property in other states, you want privacy, things like that. Yesterday, I was in a town about 60 miles from my home with a couple who had a trust. And again, I run into a lot of people that already have trust because, like I said, 5 out of 10 people have either got a will or a trust. And I'm just excited about an appointment with them as I am about meeting someone that might learn something about their estate plan that they don't know that a revocable living trust might solve. But I will teach you why I explain basic estate plans in reverse. The attorneys go in, they tell you how smart they are about their trust, and they talk all about the wills and the powers of attorney, and they do the living wills as kind of a side note. And folks, that's not the right way to do it. You want to explain the living will and advance directives at the very start of your explanation of the estate plan, because it's important. I hope y'all don't think I'm unethical. I'm not. But it's important to get your client on the table in a coma in the hospital so that they'll understand the importance of why someone needs to represent them. Does that make sense? Because it gives you the opportunity after you draw the family tree, and drawing a family tree, that's an entirely different lesson. And I hope you guys will let me teach you how to use the family tree in this process. But the role the family tree plays in the decision process, people will actually put their fingers on the drawing when you draw it and tell you that that's the person they want to be in charge of their healthcare power of attorney. They'll tell you why, if you ask them right. And then the next lesson you're going to get from me is talks about the financial power of attorney. And I'm going to explain to you why the springing power of attorney is important to the person who doesn't want to give up power unless they have to, which means they got to have their personal doctor and another doctor have to agree that they shouldn't be making financial decisions. And until those letters are written, that power of attorney is not transferred. I'll show you how to explain that too. The person you explain it to will agree and will like it. So anyway, day 21, here we are 3 weeks into the lesson. And we're just now talking about the purpose of a pour over wheel. But you got to remember, you're only putting in 10 minutes a day. And any time during that 3 weeks that you want to move forward faster, all you have to do is go to randallbaxter.com. I'll show you that here in a minute. Well, I'll show it to you now. Website, see right there, Asset Positioning Services at randallbaxter.com. You can schedule an appointment to talk to me, or you can go to Family Tree Asset Positioning Training. You can click on it, and if you become a licensee, I'll give you a special sign-in, and you'll come down here and you'll see a whole table of contents of videos that I have done to teach you how to sell estate plans, not how to do the software, but how to sell estate plans. And you'll find that that's probably as valuable, if not more valuable, than knowing how to use the software. So then day 2, week 3, we're going to go into the details, and this might take 15 minutes, not 10. But you're going to get a lesson on the roles that are inside the trust. And when you're talking to Mama and Papa, or Granddad and Granny, or Dad and Mom that are getting ready to be empty nesters, and they don't understand the difference between trustor and trustee, they will appreciate the fact that you took the time to explain it. That you took the time to explain what a successor trustee is, and what the proper order of beneficiaries is. The case I did yesterday had 5 generations per stirrups. And then if you take time to explain successors and contingents, not contingents, there's another misspelling. I need to talk to whoever edited this thing, but I think it was me. The special needs, spendthrifts, and if those people exist in the family of the people you're talking to, you've already drawn them on the family tree, and your prospect will point them out to you. That's pretty important to know, isn't it? So in these lessons that I'm going to be going over, I'm going to be talking about why use the family tree asset positioning go-to first interview. And why do I call it the go-to first interview? Well, I'll give you a hint. It simplifies the information and decision process. It opens the door to life insurance, long-term care, income planning, asset-based long-term care, investments, assets under management, 401k discussions, IRA discussions. And it's all on an agenda that you follow that is a natural progression that if you do it correctly, your clients will do something called micro commitments. And the longer you stay on the track that I give you, and the longer you stay on the agenda, before it's over, your clients will have compared their present plan to what you will show them is an ideal plan. And they will come to the conclusion, if they can afford it, and it's the least expensive way to do this, they'll buy that plan from you. They'll buy it that day. They'll set up an appointment for the back end interview because what they buy, they want to know is properly funded. So about halfway through the third week, I'm going to introduce you to something called the confidential, which is your data collection form that is in the exact same order as the agenda that you're going to give people and the sales presentation that you're going to give people and the power phrases you're going to use. I'm going to teach you all the power phrases. Power phrases are very profitable and they're not pushy. They're just, you're asking for agreement. So the sales script that I'm going to give you on day 26, and that's probably going to take 30 minutes, not 10. But the sales script follows the confidential. And that's what establishes clarity with your client. So then the day after I teach you the sales presentation, I'm going to focus on the power phrases. Because this is how you get the prospect to agree to move forward and to offer additional information. This is probably the most important thing because it's not part of the sales script. It's just interjections. Interjections like, hey, don't worry, we're not going to go into depth, but do you have long-term care? And they'll say yes or no. Say, well, we'll get back to it. Another one is I might look at you and say, hey, in order to have for me to be the best advisor that I could be to you, we need to do an income analysis so that I can help you understand what gaps and cliffs are in your income, and that I can help you be sure that your decisions are that you can confirm that your decisions are a sure thing and not a maybe. And they're going to look at you like, what are you talking about? And then you're going to say, well, let me show you. So, and I don't care to tell you, yesterday and this morning, I used the agenda. And I had their name written down on the agenda. This is the agenda for Mr. and Mrs. Blank. And they looked at it and they said, this is our agenda. And I said, it is today. This is what we're going to talk about. And we followed that agenda outline step by step. And they could look at it and see what was coming up. And when they asked a question, they could refer back to the agenda and say, can you clarify this a minute? So if the prospect is given an agenda, they're going to be impressed with your attention to detail as they see the process unfold. And all this only takes about 45 minutes. So I'm going to teach you why you want to review the current estate plan. The approach that you're going to use that's going to make you the most appointments is to talk to your client about discussing their current plan, not the one you want them to have, but their current plan. Remember, 5 don't think they have a plan, but they do. It's called probate court. 5 have got either a will or a trust, and 4 of those 5 are not happy with what they've got because they've had relationship changes and asset changes and health changes. Especially you Medicare agents out there, those folks are going through relationship changes and asset changes and health changes all the time. And they're going to want to review their estate plan at least once a year. So once you have talked to your client about estate planning, once you have established that there are gaps and cliffs in their income planning, once you have asked the health questions, and the health question, I'm going to teach you why I just took a pair of scissors and cut out the knockout questions on simplified underwriting life insurance application and posted it in my confidential, made it look like it's just part of the questions. And I look at them and go, hey, I'm a firm believer that your current health status is the primary factor in your investment decisions. Would you agree? And most of the time they say, yeah. And then I go, well, so I could be a better advisor to you, I just need to ask you a couple of health questions that help me guide you into the right situation. So will that be okay? And they'll go, yeah. And then I ask them, hey, have you ever had a heart attack, stroke, cancer, Parkinson's disease, HIV, kidney problems? And they both said this morning, they both said no until about 15 minutes later. The husband said, well, I need to be honest with you. I've got a heart problem and some kidney issues. And one of the power phrases I used on him, and I hate to say this, but I did. It's true. I looked at him and said, hey, you're a little closer to the cliff than your wife is, aren't you? And she said, yes, he is. And we need to talk about this. So, once the prospect buys and you say, hey, you've done a good job with your assets, don't you think we ought to go ahead and get your proper paperwork set up? They'll say yes. And once they do that, and you go to your web page and you set that up, you can look at them and say, I'll have this estate plan ready for you next week. And when you come back in, we'll get it notarized and witnessed. And some of you are skipping that step. Don't skip that step. Don't just send it to your client. You're skipping the opportunity for the back end sale. And that's where you make the most money. But here's what I say to them. When you come back in, I have some ideas I want to share with you. But before I do that, I need to do a little research and I need to run some numbers. When you come back in next week to pick up your estate plan, would you like to see your numbers? Well, nobody's going to tell you no. So here we get down to the end of it, the end of the 30-day training. Only costs you $99.95. I want to talk to you about a 90-day challenge and the cycle of success. And this is where a lot of people who have FUD or don't have real motivation or don't have the confidence to make the sale yet, this is where they show me what they need. And the purpose of the 90-day challenge, the 90-day challenge for me started September, October, November. And when September 30th comes around, I throw away September and I've got a new 90-day challenge, October, November, December. And during that time, I know what my cash flow is going to be because I know what kind of sales I made in September and what I hadn't got paid yet from August. And I can look at October and November because I have to factor in that new holiday. I think it's somebody told me what it was. It was Happy Hallowthanksmas. That's a long holiday period. But so I need to factor in those holidays, and I need to factor in what days I have available to make sales and how many people I can fill those days up with, one, maybe two a day. And so I have to decide if I'm going to work full-time or part-time. And that means I have to identify my suspects and I have to identify my prospects. And those are different definitions. And I'm going to teach you those definitions if you want to learn them. And I'm also going to teach you how to convert a client into an advocate, because I'm a firm believer that you don't have to spend money on marketing if you do this right. If you draw the family tree right, you're going to have an abundance of suspects and prospects that are going to be happy to talk to you because of what you have done for their family member, because you did a good job with the go-to first interview. And I hope that makes sense. But if you're managing your business on a 90-day challenge, renewing it every 30 days and following the cycle of success, you can't help but make a lot of money. The problem is, when it is a problem, it's not always a problem. The problem, though, is either people don't believe it, they don't expect it to work because everything they do doesn't work, or they have not implemented correctly. And it's easy to find the problem, to know whether we've got a problem on the suspect level, on the prospect level, on the presentation level, converting people to clients, or in the level of asking those clients to advocate for you so that you can have a new suspect. And for those of you who are listening, I hope you're hearing me, because that is the roadmap to success in the financial services business. And using the Family Tree Asset Positioning Go-To First Interview is the easiest way to expose yourself to all those products, even you PNC people, even you Medicare people, even you folks that believe that all you want to do is sell IUL, and that's okay. But I will teach you how to not be a product salesman. I will teach you how to be a process person. And if you engage and implement that process every time, you will open the door to all products if you want to. So, if you're going to launch like a rocket, you have to be able to identify your suspects. I'm going to teach you how to do that. I'm going to teach you the definition of a suspect. I'll go ahead and tell you right now, the definition of a suspect is someone that you think would benefit from a conversation with you about estate planning. Not that they're going to even talk to you, but that you think they would benefit if they did. That's a suspect. I'll teach you how to build that list of suspects. My problem right now is I've got more suspects than I got time to see, which is a good thing. It lets me pick the wealthier ones to go see. So let me just ask you a question. Are you ready to get started? Well, the sooner you get trained, the sooner you get coached. And I don't care to tell you, since May 1, I think my students have written almost $12 million in annuity business. That's a lot of money. At 6 or 7% commissions. I don't know exactly how much it is, but I think it's like $700,000. And they didn't expect it. And this is new money on top of what they're already doing, because they went back to their clients and said, hey, I think you might benefit from a conversation with me about estate planning. And when you do, you're probably going to learn something that you were not aware of in your current plan. I hope that makes sense for you. So look at this screen right here. Write this down if you want to, but if you want to, you can even click on the sign up for training. You can do that and click. If you want to talk to me, you can email me at randallbaxter.com and I'll talk to you. I'll make an appointment. But before I end this thing, I want to take you back over to my website, FTAP Training, which is Family Tree Asset Positioning Training. And when you click on it up there in the corner, mine goes straight to the table of contents. You will have to have the password. If you'll email me, I'll even give you the password. If you just to get you to look and see what we're doing right here. But you can go in there, you can see the table of contents, and you can come over here. And even if you wanted to click on the chapter 4, there's the why of the family tree. It'll take you to that course, the why of the family tree asset positioning go-to first interview, including the power phrases. And you can take the course faster than the 30-day email program. If you look at it, I'll go over the interview part 1, interview part 2. We can talk about mastering the family estate doc software. We can go on up and look at some of these other courses. One is TOMA for you folks that have marketing issues that want to learn a good, inexpensive marketing program. We'll talk about the concept of TOMA, the concept of TOMA approaches. And the one I like the most is one where I'm unplugged and I'm just in my office talking to you. And what I say to you is, let me teach you how to hunt. You don't have to spend a lot of money. Another thing is how to take massive action. These are all things that you'll let me teach you. You'll find to be very profitable techniques in the financial services profession. Okay, so I'll even show you how to best present the income gap and cliff solutions. I'll talk to you about how Social Security and how it fits into the family tree asset positioning sales presentation. teach you how important that page 2 is on the confidential. And you probably get a copy of what we're talking about today right there where it says the new FTAP training program. It's what we're recording today. And I'll teach you how to make a sale, a big sale in the first 60 days if you will do what I ask you to do. Those of you who have been with me and have not made a sale in the first 60 days, it would take me about 5 or 10 minutes to find out what the problem is. I already know that we'll find it. It's got to be one of the things we've already talked about. So anyway, that's the issue. The deal is, if you become an annual licensee, which costs $495 a year, I will give you the $99.95 training and put you through it while you are learning to be a licensee. If you take the monthly deal, which is $49.95, I have to charge for the training of and the training is $99.95. I encourage you, before you take the monthly, to take the training to make sure it's something you want to do, because I have a higher dropout rate in the monthlies than I do in the annuals, and I have lower total sales per unit. It's the annual licensee that's making the bigger sales and consistently growing because they make a bigger commitment. But I'll help you get started at $49.95 a month as a licensee. You can become a licensee and take the training at the same time, or you can just take the training to see if it's something you're even interested in. But I just want you to know that if you take the training and then become a licensee and make your first sale using my software, Family Estate Doc software, in the first 60 days, I'll refund your $99.95. I don't know how to make it any better offer to you, because if you make 3 or 4 front-end sales a month, you make about $1,000 each time. But if you make the back-end sale, you're going to make between $5,000 and $20,000. And most people only have to make one back-end sale a month to be pretty happy. And that's okay. I want you to work at your own pace. But my job is to teach you how to make your first sale, how to find your second sale, and how to stay in touch with me and you to keep you writing more business every month. And I don't care to tell you. I mean, if you call me and ask me that, I'll tell you how I make my money. But it's not in one big shot up front. It's in the consistent production of a well-trained, well-coached licensee, which is what I'm looking for. So anyway, that's all I got to say about that. I'm